The morning the storm rolled over Crestwood Estate, a rumor moved through the staff halls faster than the thunder outside. The billionaire, Alastair Rennox, had fired 3 helpers before breakfast. No one knew why, but fear pulsed through every whispered conversation. Among all the terrified workers stood Rowan Hale, a single dad with tired eyes and calloused hands, clutching the lunchbox his 7-year-old daughter had decorated with stars. Rowan never imagined his life would bring him here, working in the mansion of a man who despised everyone paid to make his world run smoothly. But necessity forces a person into places pride never could. And today, of all days, would be the day everything changed. If you believe in kindness, healing, or second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light. Your support means the world. Rowan had come to Crestwood because his daughter, Maren, needed stability after her mother passed. The only job that paid enough and didn't require experience beyond labor was here, working for a man whose wealth could buy anything except warmth. Rowan tried to keep his head down, quietly doing gardening, maintenance, and whatever else they handed him. He had mastered invisibility, a survival skill in a place where helpers were treated like shadows. No eye contact, no conversations, no errors. Errors meant consequences. But everything shifted the morning a car pulled up to the mansions. Sleek, shimmering silver, the kind of car that reflected a person's fear as clearly as a mirror. Everyone watched from a distance as a woman stepped out. She wore a soft cream dress, nothing flashy, but she held herself with a kind of gentle confidence that disarmed the tension around her. Her name, they later learned, was Solara Wynne, a philanthropist and an old acquaintance of Alastair. She had come without warning, without ceremony, without bodyguards, and the billionaire who feared nothing seemed almost rattled by her arrival. Rowan didn't pay much attention at first. Visitors came and went, and none of them ever noticed the helpers. He assumed she would be the same, but fate has its own way of weaving moments together, especially for those who have been forgotten too long. By midday, the tension on the estate rose. Something about Solara's presence unsettled Alastair. Helpers were scolded more harshly than usual. The head housekeeper cried in the pantry. A gardener quit on the spot. Rowan did what he always did, held the world together quietly, hoping the storm, both literal and emotional, would pass. Then came the moment that changed everything. While fixing a damaged trellis near the back garden, Rowan heard a soft voice behind him. Not sharp like Alastair's, not worn like the staff's. It was warm, curious, almost musical. "Is that difficult to repair?" Solara asked. Shock froze Rowan's hands. No visitor had ever spoken to him so directly. He turned, unsure if answering was allowed, but her expression held no judgment, no hostility. Just genuine interest. He finally managed to say it wasn't difficult, just time-consuming. She stepped closer, not too close, but enough to acknowledge him as an equal human being, something he had forgotten how to feel. She asked about the flowers, about the estate, and eventually, with a gentleness that pierced straight through the armor in his chest, she asked if he liked working here. Rowan hesitated, the truth coiling in his throat like a trapped bird, but he simply nodded and said it paid the bills. She understood what he didn't say. From that moment forward, Solara noticed things others ignored. The helpers' exhaustion, the silence around them, the way fear hung in the air. She saw the dismissive glances Alastair threw their way. She saw how Rowan carried both the weight of the job and the weight of fatherhood in his steady, patient movements. And she saw that kindness, in this mansion, lived only in small hidden pockets, like the tiny smile Rowan gave whenever Maren's lunchbox drawings peeked from his bag. It wasn't long before Alastair grew irritated with her compassion. He confronted her one afternoon near the foyer, raising his voice about boundaries and disruptions. Solara didn't retaliate. Instead, she looked him in the eye and asked the question no one dared ask. "Why do you hate the people who help you live your life?" Her voice wasn't loud, but its truth was. That night, tension erupted. Alastair stomped through the halls, criticizing every detail, The lamps were too dim, the railing was dusty, the cutlery arrangement was wrong. No helper escaped his fury. Rowan, exhausted from repairing storm damage outside, was blamed for a leak he didn't cause. He simply bowed his head and took the reprimand, reminding himself he needed the paycheck more than he needed fairness. But Solara saw it all. She saw Rowan's quiet endurance, the way his shoulders sagged under pressure but never broke. She saw the helpers scattering like frightened birds whenever Alastair entered a room. Something inside her stirred, a deep ache for justice, for humanity, for gentleness in a place starved of it. The next morning, as sunlight poured through the glass ceiling of the atrium, Rowan was kneeling by a planter, his hands deep in the soil, grounding himself in the one place on the estate that still felt alive. He didn't hear Solara approach until her shadow fell over him. She said his name softly. He didn't remember ever telling her his name, but somehow she had learned. She asked how he was. The question, simple as it was, unraveled him in a way he never expected. No one asked how helpers were doing, no one cared, he didn't cry, but something in his chest loosened like a knot that had held too long. Then she did something no one in the estate had ever done. She bent down, placed a gentle kiss on his cheek, and whispered, "Thank you for working so hard. You deserve kindness too." Rowan froze, not from embarrassment, but from shock. The kiss wasn't romantic, it was human. Pure, unfiltered human appreciation. A recognition of his soul, not his labor. For a moment he felt alive again, seen, worthy, and that was enough to break years of invisible wounds. The rumor of the kiss spread through the helpers' quarters like wildfire. For the first time in ages, the staff whispered with hope, not fear. Maybe change was possible. Maybe someone finally cared enough to challenge the billionaire's bitterness. And indeed, change came, but not gently. Alastair confronted Solara with explosive anger. He accused her of meddling, of humiliating him, of stirring rebellion among the workers. But Solara stood tall, her voice calm yet fiery as she reminded him that wealth meant nothing if it built walls instead of bridges, fear instead of gratitude, isolation instead of respect. Then she said something that silenced him completely. "You're hurting the people who make your life possible, but the real damage is what you're doing to yourself." Those words cracked something inside him, though he hid it behind anger. Later that evening, while Rowan packed up his tools, expecting consequences for the incident, Alastair approached him, not with fury, but with an awkward stiffness, as if humility felt foreign in his bones. He didn't apologize, not yet, but he admitted he didn't realize the toll his behavior had taken on the workers. He asked Rowan how things could be made better. Rowan, stunned, answered honestly, respect would be a good place to start. For the first time, Alastair listened. Over the next few days, he began observing instead of commanding. He realized the estate functioned because of the hands he had dismissed for so long. He saw Rowan rebuilding a broken bench with quiet dedication. He saw the maids working long hours without complaint. He saw the cooks preparing meals with care, even though he barely acknowledged them. And something shifted. Slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. The helpers began to breathe easier. Smiles emerged where fear once lived. Marin, during a rare visit when Rowan had no choice but to bring her along, gifted Alastair a drawing of the mansion with sunshine behind it. He didn't understand why the gesture left him speechless. As for Solara, she prepared to leave the estate. Rowan felt a pang, knowing her presence had been the light that sparked everything. When she came to say goodbye, he thanked her for seeing him, for seeing all of them. She told him he had strength he didn't even realize he carried, and that the world needed more hearts like his. Her departure left the estate quieter, but not darker. The seeds she planted remained. Weeks later, helpers found themselves working under new policies. Fairer hours, kinder management, better pay, and above all, respect. Rowan, to his surprise, was promoted to lead groundskeeper. Alastair, while still stern, made a real attempt to greet workers, acknowledge their efforts, and rebuild the broken parts of himself. The mansion did not transform overnight, but hope had taken root. And all because one woman believed in kindness powerful enough to soften even the hardest heart. Rowan often looked at the trellis he repaired the day he met Solara. Flowers now bloomed across it in brilliant colors. Every time the wind rustled the leaves, he felt that small, gentle kiss on his cheek, the reminder that kindness isn't just an act, it is a spark that can change lives. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who need light in their day. Special request: comment Light Lives here. If you felt the warmth in this story,